You tell everyone you are broke. And somehow, that lie is the only reason you are not broke anymore. There is a number in your banking app right now that nobody in your life knows about. Not your partner, not your best friend, not your parents. Some part of you feels guilty about that, like you are hiding something shameful, when really you might be doing the healthiest financial thing you have ever done. Why does saving in silence feel so wrong when spending in silence never bothered you at all? Why do you flinch when someone asks how much you have saved, but you never flinched when you lied about a purchase you regretted? There is a reason for that flinch, and it is not the reason you think it is. You know the feeling. Someone asks what you are doing this weekend and you say nothing much when actually you are staying in on purpose, quietly transferring a small amount into an account nobody has access to. You smile along when friends talk about their new car or their spontaneous trip, and you let them assume you simply cannot afford the same things. You do not correct them. Some part of you would rather be seen as broke than be seen as disciplined, because discipline invites questions, and questions invite judgment. And judgment is exhausting when all you wanted was a little peace with your own money. This is not a video about budgeting apps or spreadsheets. This is about something deeper, something almost nobody talks about honestly. Why do the calmest, most financially stable people you will ever meet often say the least about money? Why does true financial discipline almost always hide behind a mask of normal, unremarkable living? What does it actually mean about you that you have started protecting your progress by keeping it invisible? It starts with being burned. Maybe you told someone about a goal once and they laughed, gently or not so gently, and something in you closed. Maybe you mentioned that you were saving for something real and the response was a joke about being cheap or a comment about how you should enjoy life more while you are young. Maybe a family member asked to borrow money the moment they found out you had some put aside and you realized that visibility has a cost. Whatever the moment was, you learned a quiet lesson. Talking about money invites other people into decisions that were never theirs to make. You stopped talking, not because you were ashamed of saving, but because you were tired of defending it. And somewhere in that silence, something interesting happened. Your progress accelerated. Nobody was there to convince you to buy the thing you did not need. Nobody was there to compare their spending to yours and make you doubt your choices. Nobody was there to guilt you into loosening your own boundaries. The silence was not hiding weakness. The silence was protecting strength. Here is the deeper truth most people never say out loud. The people who save in secret are not doing it because they are cold or secretive or strange. They are doing it because they have learned, often the hard way, that other people's opinions about money are rarely neutral. Someone who overspends will subtly encourage you to overspend too, because your discipline makes their choices feel uncomfortable by comparison. Someone who has no plan will call your plan excessive because your structure exposes their lack of one. This is not always malicious. Most people do not even realize they are doing it. But it happens constantly in casual conversations, in group chats, in family dinners, and if you are not careful, you absorb it, and you slowly start abandoning the very habits that were working. The secrecy is not dishonesty. It is a boundary. It is you deciding that your financial growth does not need a live audience, a panel of judges, or a group of well-meaning people offering opinions on choices they do not fully understand. You are not lying about your life. You are simply refusing to hand out access to a part of it that took real effort to build. If you have ever felt a small flicker of shame about keeping your savings private, notice this. That shame is not evidence that you are doing something wrong. It is evidence that somewhere along the way you were taught that being financially quiet is suspicious, while being financially loud, even carelessly loud, is normal. Nobody questions the person who casually mentions an expensive purchase. But the person who quietly says nothing about their savings is somehow the one who feels like they need to explain themselves. That is backwards, and once you see it clearly, you cannot unsee it. Here is something worth saying directly, because it tends to divide people right down the middle. Talking openly about your savings to people who are not disciplined with their own money is not honesty. It is often self-sabotage wearing the mask of transparency. Some of you will agree with that instantly because you have lived it. Some of you will disagree because you believe money should always be discussed openly, that secrecy breeds unhealthy relationships with finances. Both reactions are worth sitting with, because the truth probably depends on who exactly you are being transparent with and why. Here is where the deeper diagnosis comes in, the part most people miss entirely. The urge to save quietly is not really about money. It is about control. If you grew up in a house where finances were chaotic or unpredictable, or a constant source of tension, silence around money might be the first form of control you have ever truly had. Nobody can criticize a number they cannot see. Nobody can pressure you to change a plan they do not know exists. In a life that may have felt unpredictable in many other ways, this one hidden number becomes something stable, something entirely yours, something no one else can touch, question, or take credit for. Once you understand that, the guilt starts to loosen. You're not secretive because something is wrong with you. You're protective because something finally started going right, and you're not willing to risk it for the sake of appearing open. That protectiveness is not coldness. It is self-respect, quietly practiced. If this is resonating with you so far, this is exactly the kind of quiet clarity we build on this channel, one honest realization at a time. And if you want more of these moments where something that felt like a personal flaw turns out to be a hidden strength, staying around here is probably going to help you more than you expect. This secrecy is not just protection. It is a system. When you stop announcing your financial moves, you stop needing anyone's approval to make them. You do not wait for encouragement before transferring money into savings. You do not need someone to validate a decision to skip an unnecessary purchase. Every choice becomes purely yours, made in private, judged by no one but you. And strangely, that privacy makes the choices easier, not harder. There is no performance involved. There is no version of you trying to look responsible for an audience. There is only the real decision, made quietly, repeated consistently. The system becomes simple, almost boringly simple, which is exactly why it works. First, you separate your identity from your bank balance and conversation. You do not need to explain your financial status to anyone who is not directly involved in your life or your decisions. A vague answer is a complete sentence. Second, you protect your goals from casual opinions. If a goal cannot survive being questioned by someone who has no stake in it, it was never a strong goal to begin with, so you simply stop offering it up for critique. Third, you let your results speak only when you choose, not when you are pressured to. There is a difference between sharing a milestone with someone who genuinely supports your growth and confessing a number to someone who will use it against you, consciously or not. This is not about isolating yourself from every person in your life. It is about choosing carefully who gets access to the parts of you that took years to build. You would not hand your house keys to a stranger just because they asked politely. Your financial life deserves the same discernment. Some people have earned the right to know your progress. Most people, if we are honest, have not. There is a quieter reward hiding inside all of this, one that has nothing to do with the money itself. It is the growing sense that you no longer need external permission to take care of yourself. You are not waiting for applause to keep saving. You are not waiting for someone to notice your discipline to feel proud of it. The reward becomes internal, steady, and completely independent of anyone else's reaction. That is a kind of freedom most people chase for years without realizing they already had the tools to build it. Why does silence around money feel like guilt, when it is often the clearest sign of maturity? Because you were taught, somewhere along the way, that openness equals honesty, and privacy equals hiding something. But privacy is not the same as dishonesty. Privacy is simply a boundary, and boundaries are not confessions of guilt, they are declarations of value. You are allowed to protect the things that matter to you, especially the ones that took quiet, unglamorous effort to build. If you recognized yourself somewhere in this, in the vague answers, in the private transfers, in the small flicker of shame you never quite understood, hear this clearly. You are not secretive because you are broken. You are private because you finally found something worth protecting. That is not a character flaw.
That is the beginning of real financial peace, built quietly, sustained privately, and completely, entirely yours. If today is the day you stop apologizing for that silence, start small. Do not announce it.
Do not explain it. Just keep going, quietly, the same way you have been.
And if you want to keep learning how to build a calmer, more controlled relationship with your money and your mind, you already know where to find the rest of this.